of symbolic consciousness. Today, we'll examine how ancient symbolic systems and modern neuroscience converge to reveal hidden patterns in human awareness. A 20th century physician, working purely from neurophysiological data, discovered something remarkable. He identified a four-phase sequence in how perception arises in the brain. First, a point source ignition, a neural microactivation. Second, radial expansion of the signal through respiratory and trained cortical modulation. Third, vertical integrative linkage via vagus spine cortex coupling. Finally, a stabilized global field of awareness through large-scale network coherence. He labeled these phases Y, H, V, H, choosing letters whose shapes matched the functional architecture. Y resembled a point with a vector. H represented an open field. V indicated a vertical connector, and H again denoted a global field state. Only later did he discover that this sequence matched the ancient YHVH ideogram exactly. Despite having no prior knowledge of Hebrew linguistics or esoteric literature, his neuroscience model reproduced a pattern encoded thousands of years earlier. The physician recognized the pattern, but lacked the framework to explain why it exists. Had he known Manly P. Hall's work, he would have understood this as the science of divine letters, where ancient alphabets encoded natural laws, not just sounds. Hall argued that the ancients embedded consciousness, physics, and metaphysics into letters themselves. This system, cryptic grammar, was lost when symbolic literacy disappeared. Sacred texts became opaque because readers no longer understood the functional meaning encoded in the characters. This is exactly what happened with YHVH. The original ideogram represented a four-phase cognitive operator, not a pronounceable name. Greek translators forced it into a phonetic system, inserting vowels from Adonai, producing hybrid forms like Yahweh and Yehovah. Latin scribes later created Jehovah. These are linguistic artifacts, not authentic representations. Hall's framework clarifies the deeper issue. Modern education removed symbolic literacy. Students learn that letters represent sounds, not forces. Words are phonetic units, not diagrams. The original scientific meaning of YHVH is obscured by phonetic approximations. The physician's rediscovery is significant. He reconstructed the YHVH operator from neurophysiology alone, proving the ancient symbol corresponds to a real, measurable sequence in the human nervous system. Hall's framework explains why. The ancients encoded consciousness structure into their symbols. Thus, the convergence of ancient symbolic grammar, modern neuroscience, and esoteric interpretation reveals YHVH not as a theological name, but as a functional model of consciousness, preserved in cryptic form and rediscovered through scientific inquiry. Now we turn to another symbolic pattern, the number 33. This value recurs across religious tradition, initiatory systems, and the natural limits defined by physics. In Christian tradition, Jesus was approximately 33 at the crucifixion. The Gospels place his ministry beginning around age 30, with roughly 3 years of activity. This convergence has endured as a symbol of completion, consummation, and ascent. In Western esoteric systems, the number appears in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The 33rd degree is the culminating honorary degree, conferred as recognition of service. It signifies a threshold, the terminus of a graded ascent encoding moral, intellectual, and symbolic refinement. Even in physics, we encounter 33 at a boundary. The Planck length, the smallest meaningful spatial scale, is approximately 1.616 times 10 to the negative 35 meters, or roughly 10 to the negative 33 centimeters. At this scale, classical concepts of space and time lose coherent definition. 33 becomes a marker of boundaries, both at the upper threshold of human initiatory ascent and at the lower threshold where physical intelligibility dissolves. A symbolic symmetry emerges between the macroscopic and microscopic domains. Optics provides an analogy for understanding this correspondence. The Hermetic maxim, as above, so below from the Emerald Tablet, suggests that higher and lower realms reflect one another. Light demonstrates this through refraction, governed by Snell's law, where a ray's path changes based on the medium it enters. Coherence offers another parallel. For waves to generate stable interference patterns, their phases must be correlated. Without coherence, the pattern collapses into noise. Similarly, loss of symbolic literacy produces informational decoherence. The pattern exists, but the observer lacks the coherence to perceive it. The Rayleigh criterion defines when 2 points of light can be distinguished. Too little aperture and separate sources blur into one. Symbolically, insufficient cognitive aperture, a narrowed interpretive framework, renders distinct ideas indistinguishable. The world appears dim not because light is absent, but because resolution is impaired. The symbolic recurrence of 33 is not a secret code, but an instructive resonance between human meaning-making and physical limits. It marks completion of ascent at one end and dissolution of form at the other. Between these poles lies the domain where consciousness, language, and light interact. When symbolic and scientific grammars are reintegrated, the world becomes legible again. The light was always present. What was missing was the ability to resolve it.